Guys, I know it's not a Harley. All our Harley customers are like, I only want to see Harley stuff. And then our other customers yelling at it, why are you showing so many Harley seats and nothing else? Well, here's a Suzuki, right? Not your average Suzuki. This guy's customized this bike a little bit. It's pretty different. He's actually a cool dude. What's funny is he brought this in the back of his pickup truck. And he pulled in with like a 1979 Mitsubishi pickup that he's had since it was brand new, which is really cool because it was just neat to see the mini trucks. You don't see a lot of them anymore. One thing I want to go over, and this is point in case how the industry has changed a lot in the motorcycle business. This is for people who want to build stuff themselves, do stuff, and do it right the first time. It's very difficult because back in the day, there were a lot of motorcycle shops. Like in Connecticut, we're a small state, there was over 100 motorcycle shops, custom builders doing a lot of cool stuff. Back when they had the motorcycle explosion. Before that, it was quite a few bike shops. They've been around for a long time. Then you had the motorcycle explosion where there was like 1 million shops. That lasted for probably about 10 years. And it was just, you know, custom bike shops everywhere. It was a fun time. It was really cool. But what was cool about it for me was we do motorcycle seats and we do a lot of them for shops. And I used to enjoy doing them for shops because I could tell you something one time and then you'll correct it and we're good. So if you bring a bike to us and you make a seat pan yourself, or you fab a bike in a position preparing for a seat pan, and there's things that aren't going to work, like tolerances that you need to know and all that type of stuff. Once we go over it 1 or 2 times or for different applications, every time you build a bike or build a seat pan or custom make a bike, you know what to do. You're prepared. So when we get a seat pan, we're ready to go. We're not running into hidden challenges all the time. There was, you know, a lot of things like point in case would be if you make your seat pan too big, and then we go and we have to put an edging on it because it's a metal or aluminum pan. That's going to make the seat wider. So now it's not going to line up where you want it to. And on high-end bikes or custom bikes and most motorcycles, most of us, we love our bikes and we always want them to look good. So that little detail is very important. Other things are people would make seats like this that have a pan and then have it completely really tight. You know, you see like you want your tolerances really tight, like you're doing metal work where everything butts together perfectly and you can TIG weld it and everything's mint. Well, on seat pan, it's not so much like that because if you make your tolerances too tight, now we have to wrap it. The material has to go around underneath the seat pan, plus we have to put some sort of protective layer underneath that seat pan. When you do that, now you picture if you do it and it's just a seat like this, you put your material here, that seat's going forward and up a little bit. Even if it's 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch, that's a lot when you're trying to align bolts or try to scoot it into a specific location. Now, if you take a seat pan that does like a U, you have to go in there and cradle it, so it's never going to fully go down to the bottom. And if you have alignment points and alignment pins, nothing's going to align up, and it's kind of a pain in the tail. I kind of miss the bike builder days because we would say it once, twice, 3 times a lady. They would get it done. We would learn it, and every bike they would build after that, we would know whether it's a carbon fiber seat pan, a metal seat pan, a fiberglass seat pan, anything we did, they would learn. And it was kind of nice because we got a little early for my phone to be ringing, isn't it? Stop. It was kind of nice because not only were we not going over the same problems a million times, the bike builders were getting better as they were going. They were learning all these different things, and not even just for seat pans, but for paint and body work. You know, when we're doing paint and body work on a motorcycle, we would have to do, not that right now we just specialize in seats. We did paint and body for a long time for shops because there was a big need for it back then. When you're doing paint and body work, there's certain things you have to know. What has to be, the tolerances have to be really tight and thin. You know, you don't want to cake things up around bolt holes and all that. You want to tap things out for them. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do to make the bike building process a lot easier. With you doing it now, because there's not a lot of bike shops, you have to learn this. So I'm hoping that if you watch our videos, you'll learn. Over time, you're gonna learn a lot of stuff on all of our different videos, and then you, at home, building your bikes won't run into it. We see it way more. I was just about a month ago, I did a seat for one of our old dealers that we had. He's still in business, still kicking, one of the last true and tried guys around. One of the bikes there we both had to work on, and it was amazing how many things were missed from the beginning of the bike build to the end of the bike build, and it just adds so much more work, so much more time, and the end result is not as good as it should be. And what's hard is, another thing that's difficult is when you are building something for your first time, it'll look good to you because you're excited, because you don't know yet all the little things that are wrong, if that sounds right. So like a lot of guys will make their first seat pan. They'll get it all done, they'll look at, or first seat, they'll upholster it, get it all done, pull it tight, and they look at it. They're just looking at the whole unit. And it's just like auto body. Once you start doing body work, you go from looking at an entire unit to each individual flaw within that. And it's the same thing with upholstery and building bike seats and stuff. So with this one here, with, if you make your first seat, you're just gonna look at a seat and say, oh, it's a seat. You're not looking at the stitching's crooked, or you're not looking at it's symmetrical. You're not looking if the foam's perfectly shaped. And the better you get, the more you tune that in to a point where you actually have something that looks like it's manufactured and pre-made and perfect. And that was what was nice about the bike shops, but you at home are gonna have to kind of do that on your own. So we're gonna use this as an example, because this one came in. So the customer made a seat pan. Well, the customer had made his first seat pan. He brought this in. He didn't like this one, so he went and made a new one. So this is the new seat pan. He wants it to go up here on the tank. And a lot of times people get confused on making a seat pan there. And on a lot of this style bike, or like the Honda CBs and all that stuff, this is actually all foam. It's not even a seat pan. So we're gonna do that for him on this. We'll just have to dial it in. And the hard parts about doing a seat in all foam is you gotta use a firmer foam, and you wanna make sure that you don't over pull it or tighten it, so that, because it's just foam that's gonna be sitting on here, and normally it could really shift or move around. But he went through and tried to fine detail this thing, and then we got in, I told him, we need to put a pinch edge on here to cover it, to protect it. So that's gonna add about 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch all the way around. When you start getting up in here, it's too tight. So we're gonna have to cut this down. We're gonna have to radius this now so it could go around it. You can have it go up to a point and come down, but there's not enough tolerance here for the seat pan to come on and off. And then this seat pan is gonna have to get unbolted from the bottom. He had it bolted through the top, but if we put foam on top of here, you can't access these. So we are gonna go through and put some nut certs in here and have those come through. One of the problems with putting the nut certs through is we're gonna have to take this seat pan and add some material to it and put it where it needs to go, because his pre-drilled holes, once you put material on here, this seat pan is gonna move this way, so it's gonna go up and over. So these holes that are nice and tightly drilled where the bolt just goes through there are gonna be probably about 1/8 inch off by the time we get done, maybe more. So it's very important to have that seat pan dialed in so that with the material underneath it, everything works. That's one thing that's always overlooked when people are making seat pans. And we run into, it's tough, is if you're at home and you do this, you're not paying attention, you send it to us, then we send it back to you. Now you have a seat that's already done, upholstered, that looks nice, that doesn't fit on your bike. And so you could have to pull it apart to repair all that. Just taking these out, these 2 bolts are already a pain in the ass. And if it's a pain in the ass when it's just metal against metal, it's not gonna line up well at all. So we're gonna have to really change this up. So these are the holes. He has quite a few holes down here. And then he wants to use these guys up here, which are adjustable for the front ones. So you're gonna have to pop the side cover off and reach up and nut it up there. So I am going to add some to the bottom of this, move it where it needs to be, and then we are gonna have to re-drill this and then cut this out. I'm gonna do that quick. All right, so I went and trimmed the seat pan, and now I'm just putting on some pinch edge molding or door edge molding from our friends over at Kohl's Products, another American-made company right here in Connecticut. Great people, great items. You can find their stuff at like Pep Boys. Well, actually, I think Pep Boys doesn't sell anything now. O'Reilly's, Advanced, AutoZone, Walmart, Amazon, like everywhere you go, they are everywhere. They're really good. I'm gonna use a heat gun around the corners with this stuff. I will say you wanna make sure that after you heat it up, you hold it in place or tape it until the glue cools down, because you don't want it to shrink and pop out. But it does help you go around some of the corners. This stuff was out in a container, so it's a little colder. Well, it's not that cold out, I guess. It's September, right? How cold is it in September? And I will go through and tap this on with a hammer just to make sure that the glue inside is squished up against the edge of the metal. Hopefully this stuff has glue inside, otherwise I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Yeah, there's glue in this stuff. I've always done that, but oh, that's a good point for Kohl's. I've actually always done that, but some of the generic stuff you get doesn't have the glue inside it. So you'll put it on, and then it just falls right off, which is horrible. Or you go around a corner and it just lifts right off and looks like crap. Now when you're going around sharp corners, I don't recommend doing this at home. We kind of push this to places where you're not supposed to go, because this isn't really made specifically for this. It's supposed to be for your door edges to protect it. And your door edges don't have super sharp corners like ours do. And the corners are the most important parts of the seat, because if they're sticking up and they're sharp and jagged, it'll make your seat look like crap, and we don't want that. So now what I'm gonna do is I actually go around here, put glue, and then I'm gonna tape anywhere I think it might pull, which is usually the hard part because you don't want a lot of tape and material up around your corners, but I do think it's going to have a possibility of pulling, and it's only gonna do that until we get the seat cover on. Once the seat cover's on, it holds it in and won't move, but we don't want it to fall. And then also I'd like to do it where the seam is. I'll put a piece of tape where that seam is, and then that's it, we can test fit this. Test fit this. Now this will kind of just hold it in place till their glue sets. And I do have to, I usually use a mallet, but go around this, I like to set it in there. I almost forgot I made these little guys up here. Not that one, yeah. And this, I'm gonna put this on here. So you could actually see what I'm doing is using this as a spacer to just space the bike seat off. It's a little high because I rather push the seat pan in to thread the bolts into it rather than have it too far out and have it like pry it and put it at an angle. All right, key, let's see. So now we can see here, the customer did trim this pan in a little bit so that we actually have it flush with the outside. We do have to put our material on there, so it's gonna be a little proud. This is, kind of goes right up with it. So that should be good. So now when I look at it, holes are actually, oh, because I had this slid forward. So this slid forward quite a bit, but it still could come up here, which we're good. So if we unbolt it, we can just take it out. So that's gonna be tight there. That would actually work if I didn't have to do that. I think we're actually gonna do that. We're gonna go ahead with this. So this is actually gonna work. I have to make the holes. What sucks is, if you look at the hole compared to where the pinch edge molding is, it's right on there. And the hole, these holes here, it's funny because normally you're too far forward or backwards. This one has to go forward a tiny bit, but they're actually holes were drilled too wide. So the seat pan holes actually have to come in a little bit more, which should be fine because we're putting a bigger nutsert in there. And I don't really want to mess with these holes because they don't look that easy to mess with because he has all these bars and stuff going through here. All right, so the seat pan's on. What I ended up doing, because his aluminum was very soft, and when we're using the riv nuts and you try to pull them in there, I just worried that it's going to suck it through because they kind of had a small flange. So I ended up taking large washers, steel washers, and putting the riv nuts through there and then riveting them through the pan. He was talking about he likes the nut plates instead of the nut certs, which you also rivet on, then you have to peen them over and all this stuff. But the problem is this pan is pretty thick, and nobody has anything like that anymore. It's not really something available in stores, so you'd have to either order it or find it somewhere, and we just don't have time. We're trying to get a seat done here. This is where the fun begins. Now we want to get the seat pan back where it goes and look, and we have to start modifying this front to fit. So what I'm doing, I'm seeing if it's pushing back the foam, which it is. So we're going to just take a little bit off each time. I can see that the bolts are right here, and those are causing a little bit of an issue. And then what we're doing is we're staggering it. The customer actually sat on the foam and we layer it in different layering. So we had a firm foam, then a soft foam. So I think we're gonna do a firm foam, soft foam, and then a skim coat of a medium firm foam. I've been back and forth a few times, fitting this, getting it closer and closer. One thing I wanna say, so you could, if you wanted to, you could mask this all off and use a capsulated system and actually put a liquid foam in here and inject it and have this exact reverse shape of this, and then you have your foam to start. Then you could grind it down and make it smaller. It seems like a big process for me for this bike to just do this one seat, so we're gonna kind of go through it the regular way. You can see here, as we get each step, I just keep coming back and I'm looking. This one I'm trying to match up so the tank kind of goes up here. So what you think this seat's gonna look like what the customer envisions and what it ends up looking like are two different things, because it always changes as you're going, and like the way it meets the shape of the tank and all that, everything kind of changes. So he wants this to kind of radius around here, which means we're gonna have to put one more layer of foam, which he does want it to kind of scoop a little bit. And that was the question. He said he wants this straight back. He doesn't want this to come up. So I'm gonna trim all this down. We're gonna get that where he wants it, and then he can come look at it, sit on it, and see if that's exactly how he actually wants it. So right now I'm just trying to make the tank shape here. And basically what you wanna do is have like 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch, whatever you want, of a gap going around it. So when you put the seat pan on in position and it's loose and has wiggle room, you can then add it, put your material on it, and make sure that the material just comes around and either just touches or just has like a 1/16 of an inch of a gap all the way around, but you want the foam relaxed. You don't want to have to pull it and stretch it because there's no seat pan under here. This is where I'm going to leave it for now. It's very roughed out. Usually when people see it like this, they have a heart attack. They can't believe how their seat's ever going to look good when it looks like this big cubed up mess of foam. What he visualizes and what it's going to look like are two different things. So he wants me to shave this straight back here and have more of a straight seat going across. But then afterwards, he said he kind of wants a rig. So I want him to look and kind of look at the spike from the side and see how much he wants to go down. And while he's here, I'll just trim it down for him, have him sit on it and go back and forth, put more foam on, take more foam off, and then dial it in. Once he's happy with the seating position and the overall look of it, then we can go through and fine tune it, which is a lot more back and forth, because as each time you get closer to the final product, there's more steps involved and more procedures and more effort and details. We'll wait till he's done, and for you, you're not going to know when he's doing well, actually, you will know faster than I'll know, because I got to wait for him to come and go and do all this stuff, and then we're going to tape it, and then you're going to go and see what it looks like in a second. This is how life works. I am like so sore. So I had messed up my knee a year ago. That's why I limp. They haven't figured it out. And I have a torn rotator cuff, and I pulled my back out this week. So yesterday I go, you know what, I'm feeling pretty good. And then the customer came in, he went to put his kickstand down and forgot, didn't have it all the way in position. So I was over there and I saw the bike starting to go over, but I don't think he realized it was going over. He was staring at the seat. So I ran over to grab it. And luckily it's a light bike, but when you grab something that's already that far down, ugh, my back is not doing good today. And then it kind of like tried to flip over the other side to push it up before it hit the ground. And bike good, Ed zero. But we got the seat shape. You can actually see here, it's kind of cool because he knows what, well, it was actually exactly what I told you. You'd think you know what you want until you see it on the bike. So then we ended up cutting it a bunch of different ways because he goes, oh, it doesn't really work the way I want, because if he went straight across, it would look like it just goes straight across. So he cut it like that, and he's like, you can see he didn't really like it. Changed a few things on it. Was really concerned about where this plane and this plane intersect. He sits way up forward because with the mid controls, a lot of times you'll sit more forward on the tank. So he likes that. But the problem is if you want this kick where he was sitting and be up here, it would look kind of stupid. You know, there's a huge shelf on the back and it makes it like not proportionate. So I had suggested if we just follow this body line, go right across. So we did that and then rounded it, and it looks really cool. Looks cooler from this side, you know, so you see it's starting to get a shape here. It has like a Brett style seat to it. He actually showed me a bunch of bikes he likes, which are really cool, some Ducatis and different things that they're doing over in Europe. And it's just a neat style. So hopefully we could get that. So now the cover is going to be simple. He wants it smooth. We're doing one stitch around with a top stitch. That's it, in black. So I'll do that. I will show you the bike done at the end of this video so you can see it. But I'm not going to show you the whole process of doing this because you don't want to see an old guy limping around complaining for the next hour and a half. I wanted you to have a final look. I got to go through and fine tune this thing on, but you can kind of get a gist of what it looks like. One thing I'd have to say that one of the good and bad things about doing this business is creating the stuff is awesome, but when we're dealing with customers, we have to be careful because we want to give advice and have suggestions, but I don't want to change your dream. So this customer came in and he knew what he wanted. And I gave him a few suggestions, but I didn't want to bombard him with them. Like I thought maybe like a red stitch would look nice on here, but it does take you away from that vintage look when you start doing some of the modern twists to it. I also personally like pleats in the seat. He was going for more of a smooth seat. And then when I looked at what he was going for and the stuff I could kind of see his vision of where he was at. Some of the Ducati bikes that they're building overseas, very cool looking, very neat looking. So I kind of see with that smooth, sleek flow what he was going for. Very cool. Appreciate that. Hopefully he loves it. I'll know soon. One other thing, if you are doing this for fun, which I highly, highly, highly encourage you to, build seats, do stuff like that, do it. Have fun, do it, be creative. If you want to do this for a living, don't just do it. Go to an upholstery shop, apprentice there, and stay there for a while and work hard. The reason I say that is because when you do this for the first time, you're going to think you're awesome at it. It's going to look great because you're proud to do it, because you're not going to see all the little things in it, which I said earlier in the video. If you work at a shop, you'll have a master upholsterer that will kind of guide you and show you these things. And then as your eyes get better, you'll start to see better detail. This way, in the future, if you do decide to go and start off and go on your own, when you start your business, you're doing really nice, high-end, high-quality stuff, and your business has a reputation of doing good work. Too often do I see people jumping into this thinking, oh, I could do a motorcycle seat and then, or a car interior, and then you'll see them do it, and from a professional perspective, you can see it needs a lot more work. You know, and I'm not saying I'm the best, I'm the farthest from the best, I'm horrible at it, and there's so many people that do way better, high-quality work than I do. We know as a professional when you see these people coming on, and what's funny is some of them are so close to the mark that if they just had a few years under their belt as an apprentice first, they would be so much farther along. And one thing to also factor in, if you work for a shop, you're gonna hone your skills because you're doing this. You're not worried about answering phones, talking to customers, paying bills, picking up parts, all that other stuff that distracts you from actually your trade and being better at what you do. So if you look at apprenticing, or not even just apprenticing, but working for a shop as a learning skill builder and something that's really gonna truly benefit you, I highly, highly recommend it. Actually, do you know what? This is a Suzuki Tempter GR-650, right? Look that bike up because I like what he's done with this. It's a very cool look, has totally kind of that European flow to it a little bit. So if you look up this bike originally and then compare it to what this gentleman was doing, then getting the feel for it, I think you'll appreciate it a little bit more. Thank you so much for watching our videos. Please like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, tell a friend. It really helps us out. I love doing these videos for you guys. I love the conversations that we have online, and I'm glad we're helping some people, and I'm hoping that we can help a lot more. Thank you.